Welcome to this video. This is about the Bilbao Masters final again. We are looking at round 9 here of 10 rounds total, so it's close to the end. And the game I'm going to show you is Carlsen against world champion Anand. The situation in the tournament is that Carlsen and Caruana are both leading, and yeah, it's pretty much a decision between the two. Anand, however, has played 8 draws up to now, and some of them have been uneventful. Some of them have been, yeah, more interesting. But still, he didn't win a game yet. Didn't lost the game, but it didn't look too inspiring, to be honest. So let's see what happens here. With 2 games left, Carlsen has got a white against Anand and a black against Iranian, and if he wants to win the tournament outright, he needs to win one of the games, and frankly speaking, white against Anand seems like a better chance than black against Iranian. So let's see what Carlsen is doing in this game. He's going for e4, and Anand actually goes for the Sicilian here. His main defenses against 1 e4 are the Najdorf, the Sicilian Najdorf, 1 e5, and he also plays the Caro-Kann sometimes. So the Najdorf is basically the sharpest option, but
check.
Carlsen doesn't go for it. He just plays bishop b5 check, according to his usual game plan of just getting a playable position and then try to outplay the opponent. It's working like magic very often, simply because he's playing so strongly after that. Alright, bishop b5 check. And also Anand recently had problems against this move. He had faced it in the German Bundesliga right before the World Championship match in April. And there he played against Russian-Dutch Grandmaster Tivyakov. He played knight d7, which is usually the move you're going to play if you want to have a more interesting game, trying to get the bishop pair when white exchanges later. But he lost the game against Tivyakov, and in a very drastic fashion. It's really rare that you see a world champion losing such a game. So in this game, he played just bishop b7, which is the tried and tested main line. It's difficult to win with black with this move. It usually leads to pretty stale positions, but it's solid. So let's see what happens. Queen d7. And now Carlsen goes for c4. In general, white has 2 basic ways of playing this position here. He can go for a c3 d4 approach, trying to get this perfect pawn center, or he can play, as Magnus did in the game, this c4 idea with d4 later, trying to set up this typical Mora-czy bind. Probably c4 is more promising, but it's not clear. c3 or castles is the normal way to go for the other line. It's also interesting. So c4. Anand now knight f6. If you look at this position for the first time and don't know the theoretical background, you might ask, what is this move? Oops, double attacking e4 and g2, and white indeed needs to sacrifice a pawn now. I'm just showing this quickly because I always thought it's a fun idea. Queen g4, castles, queen e4 and d4, and now white will win even further tempos and will have a tremendous compensation. So queen g4 is probably far too risky. Yeah, Anand played knight f6, knight to c3, covering the e4 pawn, and g6. Yeah, black can also go for an e6 setup here with bishop e7 and so on, but g6 is the main line, and in general considered fine for black. d4, takes, and bishop g7. Yeah, now we have this mentioned Mora-czy bind. Very often in this type of pawn structure, the bishops, the white squared bishops, are still on the board. So white's bishop is on e2 very often, and black's still back on c8. And these are exchanged now. At first you might think that this would automatically favor white, because this bishop is potentially a bad bishop, with the white pawns being on white squares on c4, e4, and later white usually plays b3 and f3, so it's got everything on white squares. So the bishop exchange might favor him, you might think. It's not so clear, actually. This is a potentially bad bishop. It's not bad outright on e2. And it's also a fact that black usually welcomes some exchanges in this structure to get more room for his pieces. So the bishop on c8 very often just stands on d7 and is doing nothing the whole game. And sometimes you would like to exchange it. So f3 now. This is an important move. You might think it doesn't matter so much in which kind of move order white choose white is going for. But in fact, if you look at this, you need to play f3 at some point, probably, because okay, you can go in a completely different direction with h3, but let's say you want to play bishop e3 at some point, then you must play f3 to prevent knight g4. And the question is, should you do f3 now, or should you just castle first? In fact, for years, castles was the main move, but then it was found out that after castles, f3, rook c8, b3, black has the really amazing move d5. This was introduced by Ivanchuk about 10 years ago, and this really changed this whole evaluation of the move orders. Really a cool move, d5. Okay, let's check this quickly. Just gives away a piece. So the critical move must be e takes d5, and then black even captures on d5. Very funny. Knight d5 and now e6, and black will get a piece back with a fine position, and white has nothing. He can actually, he must save himself basically here with the pretty move bishop to h6, and this very often leads to a quick draw. Okay, it's a slight digression here, but I like this. I always liked this idea. So this is also the explanation why Carlsen here on move 9 played f3. You simply play the pawn moves first to prevent this specific variation. And now Anand played queen c7. If black would castle, then you would go here, and after rook c8, b3, then d5 is not possible anymore, because the bishop on e3 is protecting your knight, so there's nothing hanging on the d file, and this would be a normal kind of Mora-czy bind position with black playing this move or a6, whatever. It's perfectly alright. In the game, Anand played queen c7, which is a very rare move. I only found one game in my database. It's not super up to date, but still it must be a rare move. Probably maybe someone played it a couple of weeks ago or anything, but it's a rare idea. Okay, queen c7, just attacking this pawn. b3 is a normal move though for white, and queen a5. Yeah, this was the idea, a quick repositioning of the queen. I'm not so sure if this is a great idea. I mean, it cannot be too bad, but I'm not sure if it's helping much. Carlsen just protected the knight, and Anand now went for knight c6. Yeah, just normal moves. Castles and castles. So yeah, and now white needs to be cautious a bit, because this knight is under fire from this bishop, and of course by c6. So there are some typical tactical tricks in this position that you need to pay attention to. If you play the really automatic looking move queen d2, for example, then black plays this standard trick and wins a pawn. Yeah, and the game basically. It's not just a pawn, it's a central pawn. Now the idea being that this is very bad for white. And this you can just exchange on d2 and then grab d4 with the mentioned extra central pawn, and black is pretty much winning on this kind of level. Queen d2 is just a typical blunder that didn't pay attention to the pressure on d4. And also black has this kind of ideas, initiating a pin. So Carlsen played a prophylactic move. He played knight c2 e2, protecting the d4 knight so that there are no direct tactical possibilities. Now Anand played rook d8. Note that for once I have the correct times, and this tournament is played 90 minutes for 40 moves with no increment in the first 40 moves. So if you look at Wishy's clock here, he only planned to spend 2 minutes up to now. So this whole stuff with queen c7, queen a5 was prepared. Here he invested 6 minutes though on rook d8. And this is an interesting question. If this was part of the preparation still, or if he was now on his own and came up with the following idea at the board. It's not clear. Rook d8 is a pretty mysterious move at first, because what is this rook doing? Just watching over this pawn. It has a tactical idea, which we will see later in the game. Another slower idea would be to play e6 d5 with the rook here. But he had a very concrete idea in mind, which I'm not sure about really. It's very difficult to assess what's happening next. Black certainly also could play on in a standard fashion, like rook c8, a6 b5, trying to prepare this at least. Probably you won't manage, but you can try. Rook d8 is very concrete. We will see what happens. Carlsen first played bishop c3, improving this bishop position a bit. Queen b6 now. And with a very direct threat, this pin allows this idea. So you need to make a side step here, king h1. And now comes the mentioned idea that Anand prepared with rook d8. He played d5. I think this idea is quite not so. It's a bit similar to the idea of Ivanchuk that I showed in the other line, and I think maybe because this other line exists, this idea came into Vish's mind, or maybe it was really a prepared idea, but it's really a related kind of motif, this d5. What's the idea? If white would capture now with the pawn, it doesn't really matter which pawn, let's say here, then knight d5 is coming, and here it's simply a deadly pin. White cannot avoid to lose the piece back. He has no way to keep it. Queen e1 is the relatively best move, but then it's something like this would happen. White gets the pawn back on e7, but at the end black has control on the d file and is somewhat better, slightly better. White has chances still to hold this, of course, but it's a pretty disappointing result of this of this opening. So after d5, taking doesn't really promise much. So Carlsen played knight c6. And okay, black needs to recapture with the pawn. You have no tricks if you go for this. You simply have no tricks here because the queen is hanging. So need to play b takes c6. And now Carlsen played queen e1 with a very simple but important threat. Black cannot ignore this. Bishop a5 is threatening now. To win the exchange. And here is maybe the first critical position of this game. What should black play to attend to this threat? I'm not really sure. The game, Anand played rook to c8. The alternative that I looked at is a5, which at first, I mean, this looks more natural to me, but it's difficult to say. This, of course, wants to introduce the possibility of playing a4, and but the main point here is that white will continue e5, which will also happen in the game. It's quite similar here, and now e6, and this is the whole problem or the whole issue of this position for black. White will play this, and it's a matter of comparison. What is better, to have the rook on d8 still and the pawn on a5, or have this position with the rook on c8? This is the game position. Not sure. I mean, at least I think after e6, black can always go for d4 here, and he shouldn't be too bad. Let's say d4. Take here. King takes, bishop d2, and then maybe e5. I don't think this should be so terrible for black. I mean, white can go here, but you have knight c5. It's I don't know, maybe white is slightly better, but it's nothing spectacular at all. I mean, this kind of idea looks nice, but black has shown here ways to challenge this knight, and it's not clear. This bishop looks potentially bad with those pawns, but still this is a pass pawn, d4, and it's not so clear how to make any serious progress with white. I mean, this was certainly an alternative to go for this black. You can also, instead of d4, of course, consider to take. It's not terrible. This kind of stuff. Oops, the king, of course. Knight f4. This can be considered. I mean, knight c5, queen e5 check, for example. This is not a really exhaustive analysis, but just to show some sample line. I mean, this doesn't seem to be completely terrible for black. It's not very attractive to play. You're a bit passive, but it's a pawn. It's and not completely clear. White obviously has enough compensation, no question, but it's not clear if white is really better here. You can, oops. Of course, here to h6, try this kind of stuff, but it's not clear that this is really an advantage. Still, in comparison, I like this other line more with d4. This here to play d4. a5 was certainly a good alternative. He played rook c8, e5. Knight e8. Yeah, of course here also knight e7 was something to consider, but this is now I think simply better for white after e6. If he takes here now, you can simply retake. This is a difference in the positions, because now you protect e6, and what should black do now? Probably this move.
Check.
But this kind of position is simply better for white. Black's structure here and the king position is a bit problematic, and white has this f5 idea. I think knight d7 is worse, really. And what else should black do? He doesn't really have an alternative here after e6 here. This kind of, oops, of course not. This kind of, oops, here, take here. Really gains in strength now with the rook here instead of d8. Yeah, don't know what black should play here. If you go here, then white has this nice trick, because this pretty much
check.
This is terrible. So after taking here, white also has this idea, and probably you need to go into this kind of position. But white is just clearly better here. So knight d7 is probably worse. Knight d8 is better. And now still e6. Yeah, what should black do? I think it's very hard to not take e6. You don't really want to allow a pawn to be established there. I mean, you can think about what I'm talking about. Move like f5. Just ignoring this pawn, but looking at this, I mean, white is probably still better here. Knight f4 maybe, maybe here. Check. And c5, and knight d4 coming. Yeah, white should be better. f5 is also a weird move. It's very normal to just take it. You need to get rid of this this invading piece here on e6. All right, knight f4. This was the idea. Get the pressure going on e6, and yeah, Anand just took on c3, queen c3, and d4. Queen d2. Guess this is the most natural square. c5. Protecting this pawn, and rook e1. So what to say about this position? Yeah, white has sacrificed a pawn, but of course this e6 pawn is very weak, and also this knight doesn't really make a great impression. White certainly has enough compensation for the pawn. Probably he has got even a bit more than compensation, but it's not a lost position or clearly worse for black yet. I think the real problem comes a bit later. Here Anand played knight to g7, protecting the pawn. It's hard to suggest any other move. Yeah, now a strong move by Carlsen. Not difficult, but still strong. g4. You need to prevent knight f5. Knight f5 to f5, and probably e3 must be stopped. So g4 is good. Yeah, and now maybe in this position Anand made the first real mistake of the game. He played rook to c6, covering e6 from the side, but this fails to address one threat that white has in this position, and Carlsen yeah, saw the problem immediately, I guess. Not sure how much time he spent, but I think black needed to play queen d6 here, just to address the idea. The idea is knight to h3. It's really a bit of counterintuitive move, because you move the knight back from the central influence, but the idea is simply queen to h6, knight g5, and it's over on h7. This threat is in the position, and somehow rook c6, what Wishy played, doesn't address this threat. Here in this position, after knight h3, you can play e5, and after queen h6, it's not the best move probably, all this, but the idea is that now you have knight to e6, and if white would play knight e5, you can simply exchange with a fine position. White will win e5 here, but it's no big deal. Probably black is fine. Queen f6 is the point. Look at this. This should be perfectly alright for black. Can play a5, a4, and then it's simply a draw, probably. So queen d6, I think he had to play simply to address this threat of knight to h3. In the game, look what happened. How do you defend this pawn now? It's really difficult. He needed to really make some moves you don't really want to make, and there's not much else really. Played knight d8 now. The idea being to play knight f6 covering h7. I think this is the only move which at least continues the game. Other things probably are worse. A funny idea is you can also look at e5 by the way, again with the same idea. Of course, in this position there's no queen on d6, so e5 I can, after this I can simply take, and yeah, white has a very good position here. He's even threatening rook e6 and knight g5 immediately. So if black would make some zero move here, then this is an immediate win. It's probably even a forced checkmate. Yeah, it's a forced checkmate. Queen h7, h8 or f7. So e5, I mean, it looks silly e5, but it's a move you need to look at, simply because yeah, nothing moves just lose to queen h6 and knight g5. A funny idea is king here, queen h6, queen to d8, knight g5, and queen g8. This is the passive way of defending. But still, I think it wouldn't help at the end. White can play f4 and bring a rook into the attack. And let's look at the sample line. Yeah, now this is a huge threat. Knight to e8, intending knight f6, probably. And here, white can even take on h7. And this wins immediately. This is
check.
The easy line
Mate.
with the mate. And yeah, black cannot take on h7, but what should he do? Probably here. And then there's this very strong move, queen h3. The idea being, okay, I threaten now to win with a discovered check. And if black takes it, there's this move. And white is threatening rook h3, catching both pieces here, the queen and the king on the h-file, and also this rook in the corner is hanging with rook h3. So after queen g2, in fact, white is completely winning. Yeah, it's very difficult to find a defense after all. After this rook c6 move and then knight h3. So yeah, what did Anand play? He played knight to e8, queen to h6. Queen, knight f6, and knight g5. So we have this typical setup where white is threatening mate, and this knight is the only piece to avoid the direct checkmate. The problem is that white now simply intends to increase the pressure on e6, and if he wins this pawn, it will be really terrible. A knight on e6 would help to support queen g7 mate, and in general losing this pawn on e6 means that e7 is so weak you probably lose both. Yeah, it's very difficult here. Probably the relatively best defense would be something like this: queen a6, knight e5, and queen c8, covering e6 in this fashion, and probably having this idea in mind. But it's if you look at this, just for example, yeah, this is just really bad for black. I think the rook c6 was really a really big mistake. White will have a very strong position here for the pawn. It's very difficult to defend for black, if possible at all. In the game, Arnold played d3. I'm really surprised that he still had 40 minutes left and didn't invest more time. Probably he was already yeah, a bit annoyed at himself that he allowed this kind of stuff. Yeah, d3 was answered by rook e5, and this is again simple but very strong move. The idea is to sacrifice on h7. If black would now try to, let's say, support the pawn with rook d8, then white can already break through with knight h7. Knight takes, queen takes g6. Yeah, king h8. Oh, this is very simple, just a mate. And after this you can simply take it. d2, and then maybe invest one move to stop the pawn. And next, white is winning simply. Maybe giving a check first here is more accurate. Not sure.
Check.
This kind of thing.
Check.
And maybe then this move. Not quite sure, but white is certainly winning here. So this was the threat, and what should black do? Anand played king h8 to defend against this. Of course, you're directly allowing this kind of check also. It's not doing much at the moment, but it means you cannot put anything on the d file, for example. Okay, just rook d1, attacking the pawn, and yeah, it's really sad now. What's black's move now? If you would protect the pawn, or let's say it looks like you protect the pawn, white can simply take it and cause a very embarrassing moment, as you cannot take because of
check. Checkmate.
Because of this mate. Yeah, very sad line that rook d8 just fails. Of course, this is also a possibility. The rook d3 is even stronger. Yeah, and what should black do? Anand played queen to a6, and yeah, now Carlsen played a4, just protecting the pawn by advancing. And in this position, Anand resigned. Yeah, it looks at first you might think, okay, isn't this a bit early? But it's simply a wreck of a position. It's terrible. Rook d8 is again answered by this move. So this means you will lose this pawn, and the position after this is simply terrible. Let's say queen c8, rook d3, queen here to defend, and then just this, and yeah, e6 is falling. You will lose e6 and probably e7, and c5 is also weak. I mean, it's just dropping like fruits from a tree. All those pawns that white will win, and all in all, this is just a depressing position, just terrible. It's so, these dark squares are so dominating by white. So yeah, really terrible loss here for the world champion as black. He really is out of form now for quite a while. I'm not quite sure why. It's not my job to speculate, but Anand is not really playing on his level. He's obviously capable of playing much better than this kind of game suggests. Yeah, of course, a very clean and convincing display by Carlsen, who just took advantage of all the mistake here. I think rook c6 really is. It's clear that this is a mistake, as queen d6 is a better defense, but this whole position still is quite ugly. I mean, to be honest, I don't like this whole concept here to allow this kind of position. But this is also maybe a bit of a taste thing. I don't like to have wrecked pawn formations and a weak king. This extra pawn is really not much fun for black. And this is also why I don't like this whole idea that was played here so much. I mean, this idea with this quick d5 idea, which pretty much leads by force to this kind of position type. I don't like it much, but it's really hard to determine without hours of analysis if the mistake was before this queen c this rook c6 move, which is clearly bad, but and queen d6 is tougher. But it's a question if you look at this for a longer time, then you maybe find out that this is also bad for black. There are other ideas. I mean, I looked at this in the analysis, but white also has other ideas here, which are simply not so so straightforward, but not necessarily bad. Stuff like knight d3, rook e5, or rook e4. I mean, white has all kinds of ideas to put pressure on black, while black is just defending for just a pawn, and he's got this ugly knight on g7. Knights on g7 are really bad pieces. It's very rare that the Fear and Shadowed Knight is a good piece. Okay, so a great win by Carlsen, who is leading the tournament now. Still shared with Caruana, who won against who did he beat? I think Vallejo. Yeah, he won against a Spanish player. So before the last round, it's no, it was not Vallejo. Did he play Kayakin? I'm not quite sure. But Caruana won as well. And in the last round, the problem is they are shared first, and Carlsen's got black against Aronian, and whatever Caruana's opponent is, it's harder than it's easier than playing Aronian with black, which is about the worst you can get. Maybe one little tiny bit of extra motivation for Carlsen could be that if he would win tomorrow, I think it's tomorrow, if he would win against Aronian in this final round with black, he would beat the all-time ELO record of Kasparov's, passing this 2,851 mark. I'm not sure if he really cares, because it's simply a given that he will break this anyway at some point. But it would really happen if he would win this game. Alright, thanks for watching. I hope you liked the video, and probably I'll do something on the last round as well. So probably you'll hear from me again for the final round tomorrow.